This is Taco Salad 223, and today we are going to do some service beacons and try to learn how to make easy money doing so. Now, unfortunately, I went through all the effort of recording this first time, and the video came out really well. However, just because, computer stuff, it decided not to save the audio, so I'm going to do my best to make up what I said in this 25-ish minute time frame. So when it comes to service beacons, they used to be really easy to find back in the days of 3.17.2 PTU, so when it was in the test server. But now they are a little harder to find, so we're going to work on figuring out how to find them and get them to spawn for us. The first thing you want to do is go to Hurston or go to Microtech, maybe go to Orison. Just kind of fly around and see if they just randomly pop up in your day-to-day flying around the verse. And if you see one, grab one up, because the hardest thing to do is get them to spawn in the first place, by far. So that's what you want to work on, is just grabbing up the lows when you see them. Now, in this first little bit, we had some pop up, but I wasn't having amazing luck during Hurston, or around Hurston, I should say. I was having a lot better luck the other day, though, around Microtech. So by the end of the video, we'll be in Microtech, and we have some really good luck. But your first step is definitely going to be wherever you're at, if you're just trying to see if they'll spawn for you there, is going to be fly over to a moon or, sit somewhere. Right now I'm just next to the planet, and we're looking for service beacons. And when I'm sitting waiting for service beacons, I like to click in between the personal and the general tab, which we'll see here in a minute. And we're just looking for the service beacon tab. And there's a moderate threat that popped up, and we click personal and general to refresh. And then we can see, well, there's a moderate service beacon right there. So we'll grab it up. And now all we really got to do is quantum to it. That being said, it usually pays off to have your call to arms. So here momentarily, just waiting for me to do it, because I was talking then too. Yep, we have the service beacon. This one pays 30,000, so this can be a nice chunk of money. And there's me grabbing the call to arms, like I said we're gonna do. And now we're just gonna fly over to the service beacon, and we're gonna complete it real quick. Not a huge deal. Now, for me to be happy with flight in my ship, I gotta put my screens where I want them, so that's what I'm working on right now. Just getting everything configured right, because I'm not a fan of the stock screens or how they have the weapon set up on the Vanguard Sentinel, which is what I'm flying here. And starting off, we got a freelancer here. Now, when it comes to the service beacons, you can easily do low threats and moderate threats in like a Mustang Alpha, and you can do some of the high risk missions even in a Mustang Alpha, for example, or an Aurora. It just depends on whether or not a hammerhead spawns, because it's hard to get the hammerhead killed in the time that you need before the person that you're protecting dies. One other thing you'll notice here is that my lasers are not hitting where the reticle says they're going to hit. That's been an issue for me in this 3.17.2 alpha patch, because I have the big gun equipped on the other slot. For some reason, my rounds, or the reticle, just doesn't adjust. It just has been defaulting to whatever my biggest weapon is, and you'll see it a lot in this video. I have a harder time than I should hitting things, but I get around it. And that's a dead freelancer. And you can see, because we got call to arms, we got paid an extra 1,000 for blowing that dude up. Nice and easy. Now I'm just kind of poking around because one of the issues in these service beacons is not all the enemies will always aggro. And that can work in your favor sometimes. But I know that a mantis is almost always not a friendly target. So we're flying at an angle towards him. Because another thing that I do a lot in these when I'm flying around, not paying attention, is I end up crashing into the ship because I'm coming in so hot and just not paying enough attention. So I try to never fly straight at things because it just doesn't usually go well for me. And this will be a nice easy kill because he's not reacting yet. And there he is. The AI finally woke up, but he's missing a wing. So now he's just going to flip all over the place. And that's another one down. I don't think I've ever seen an M50 be a friendly either. So, again, flying at a slight angle to him. I probably should have been farther because that was awfully close. And I'm just going to get him knocked out real quick. And all of a sudden he started shooting. And the problem with the M50 is it just can outmaneuver me all day. So I started flying backwards here so I could get an angle on him. And got him knocked out. And then we got one last target that I can see on radar. Normally all these targets would have been shooting at us and trying to follow us around a little bit and or destroy the friendly. But we can see we completed that mission. And always, always, always remember to give a good rating. I don't know if it actually helps, but it's better to do it and it not be important than not do it. And turns out that was helping us out the whole time. And now I'm just sitting here clicking back through these menus between general and personal, trying to get one of these service beacons to spawn. And sometimes it is very slow getting them to come up. Just RNG is what I'm going to call it. So after not finding any other missions here and sitting here for, a good couple minutes, my next step is always fly to another moon because that can help with them spawn. So here we're flying on over to Ariel and we're going to sit there and see if we can get anything to spawn there. I have a feeling it will go well for us, but we're going to see. Obviously, I know what's going to happen right now, but that's usually how it goes. You just fly to another moon, something will pop up. And you start clicking in between your general and personal tabs so it refreshes it. And we're just being patient. And there's a service beacon right there. We got a moderate for 15,000. And I clicked accept. We're just giving it a second. And I do believe it'll pop up. And there it is. It is slow about showing us when we get missions sometimes. And now we just got to fly on over to it and knock it out real quick. Nice and easy. And like I said, the hardest part is getting the reputation to get the moderates and highs and stuff to spawn. And later in this video, we'll show how to see what your rating is. And it'll make sense on how that's tracked. Got a nice little Mustang Delta. Again, you can see I wasn't flying straight at it. A little bit of an angle. And this was the fastest moderate ever because that friendly just flew into him. And that's mission complete. That's 15,000 in like 30 seconds. And when these are actually working and you're getting through them pretty quick, I don't know anything that can make you faster money than this. Like I know maybe if you're flying around... man, I don't remember the name. The one ship that shoots size 9 torpedoes. Maybe flying that thing around doing very high risk bounties might make you more money. But I definitely find this more enjoyable. And that's that contract rating we were talking about. So you can see the performance rating. I have 5 stars because I've done a good chunk of them. As you do your service beacons, you'll get more stars there. And that's going to dictate what missions spawn for us. So you just got to get some lows under your belt to get some stars down, and then that's going to help you get access to the higher tier ones. And I do believe right here somewhere is where I made the decision that I was going to go to Microtech because these just weren't popping off fast enough for me. So we're going to see what happens. And if nothing happens for a long period of time, I'm definitely going to either cut it out or speed it up, because there's no point in you guys sitting there watching me do nothing. And welcome to Microtech. And just like before, we're going to get in our contracts manager here in a moment. And we're going to start looking to see if we have any service beacons pop up. I've had a lot better luck over in Microtech lately. That does not mean that you'll have the same luck. We seen that high pop up for a minute, and then it said no longer available. It does that to us a lot. I think that's just because there's a lot of people in the area trying to do service beacons. And there's a critical threat, and that's worth 306,000, but we can't do that one, so I just ignore it. There's service beacons and contract manager. Try to grab up this moderate right here. And if memory serves, it didn't give it to us. Somebody grabbed it up beforehand. But they're spawning, and they're spawning rapidly, which is good. So we're just going to keep refreshing our contract manager, waiting for something to pop up. And this is just kind of how it goes, but once you get the moderates and the highs going, they're definitely a fast way of making money. And I find it more enjoyable because it's all in space. It's just ship combat. It's not like when you're doing a bounty and you just get swarmed because there's nobody else for the enemies to shoot at. Like, I find them rather enjoyable. And that's how I made a lot of the early money this patch. This patch being 3.17.2, not 3.17.2 alpha, which is the most recent patch we're on here. And the reason I ignored the critical threat is because I've never seen one that didn't have an Idris. And, well, me and my Sentinel, I can't kill an Idris fast enough for all of the friendlies to survive. Because that's what these missions are. You're supposed to be protecting somebody from the enemy ships. And critical threats are the only one I can say where you really do need a group of people. Like maybe a friend with a bomber or something to take out those ships for you. And there's a high service beacon as we're flying along. And I even got the high service beacon, and it's going to pay $250,000 for a high threat, which is awesome. Sometimes you got to turn your quantum drive on and off real quick to get it to give you the quantum marker. And we'll get on over here and get this thing knocked out. So the first thing I like to do when I get to a service beacon, especially like a high risk, is I like to look and see what all my options are. So there's a cutlass there, and there's a cutlass there. So I got two enemies to deal with there. And then here we have a constellation, a reclaimer, and a reclaimer. You can also see there was a missile incoming, and I just didn't react fast enough. I was kind of ignoring it. It was the cutlass. That one right there. So we're going to work on deleting it. One of the fun things about fighting cutlasses is if your reticle's actually working properly, you can just shoot off the engines on one side, and then all of a sudden they really can't fight you so well because their thrust isn't leveled out. So they start spinning and doing a bunch of silly stuff, and it just makes them not a threat at all. That being said, cutlasses are actually pretty tanky considering it just has one size 2 shield generator. So don't just write them off for sure. And there's the reclaimers. I wasn't really worried about the reclaimers. The Constellation, on the other hand, it can maneuver around pretty good and do some damage. So I try to deal with that next here. And just like we said on the Freelancer, you usually want to be shooting at the back of these larger ships. The rear shield generator tends to be weaker, and you just want to get one shield generator down and just keep shooting through that hole that you made. And that's what you'll see me do here, is just stay on the rear of this ship and get that shield dwindled down so that we may get this thing properly blown up. And you'll note that I'm not using my ballistics. I do have a size 5 Gatling gun on the front of this ship, but I try not to use it unless I need it. And I will end up using it a little bit in this fight just because I got impatient. But that's mostly just because my reticle isn't firing or I'm not hitting where my reticle says I should, which has been driving me nuts this update, because it just makes it so much more difficult to shoot things unless I'm really close to it. And you'll notice I just keep moving around. Like, I am kind of just tailing him, but you want to stay moving when you're shooting at these ships, because just because that front gun isn't on you, that turret gunner on top can absolutely mess you up. So you just want to kind of keep moving around. It's not too bad to dodge the rounds. You just gotta pay attention to what you're doing, and if you start getting hit, just move. It's not a big deal. I'm just sticking to the back of the ship so I can get a shield down real quick. And you can see on the little radar on the right side, his rear shield's down. You can tell his shield's down on the back because when I'm hitting, I'm just getting sparks instead of actually seeing a shield. Missed a bunch of shots there with the ballistics gun just because I'm starting to get really impatient. Definitely got to be careful about using your ballistics up too early if you're running this ship with this configuration, just because, for example, I potentially have to fight 2 reclaimers in this battle, and that's not an easy target. And this Constellation's almost done for. And there it is. Now I gotta get rid of the cutlass. Now, what I didn't notice when I was actually flying around doing this is that my forward shield is down right now. Had no clue. I was just in the zone, and, well, being in the zone will get you killed, so definitely pay attention to that. And for some reason, I got mission complete and didn't have to fight the reclaimers, which is nice. There's 200 and almost 60,000 in the bank for not a whole lot of effort. And that's awesome. And that's the whole gist of this whole thing, is just fly around till you can get them to spawn and run with it. Now, all this being said, okay, good luck out there. This is Taco Salad 223. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'm going to sprinkle in a share in there today. All right, share my videos with your friends so that we can all be better at the game and have a good old time. And sorry about last Sunday. I didn't get a video out because my microphone died. So hopefully this one sounds okay. I just got it set up, and I still probably got some tweaking to do with it, but I also needed to get a video done this week, so that's where we're at. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.